Welcome, everyone, to the first episode of Seek, Search, Succeed, a podcast dedicated to helping sales enablement pros that are transitioning to new roles. Today, we're joined by Terri Barefoot, Sales Enablement Manager at Greenway Health. Terri, thanks for joining.
Hi, Jared. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad to have you. And to kind of break the ice on our first podcast, I wanted to tell the story of how we first met. I hope you remember it.
Yes.
We were at Forrester, I think it was last year, and Terri and I were at a networking dinner with a bunch of other people, and we were at the same table. And so we had drinks and we had apps, and it was a networking thing. So I wanted to change tables and go meet other people. So I did. I went to a different table for dinner. So the next day at Forrester, I saw Terri was teaching an event or teaching a course. So I thought, I'll go to Terri's course. I met her at the networking thing last night, and I'm sitting in the back of the room, and I just felt someone come and touch me on the shoulder. And it was Terri, and she goes, hey, if you could not leave my session in the middle like you left me at dinner last night, that'd be great. And I just thought, I'm going to be friends with this lady. She's great. I love a shit talker. So I thought that was awesome.
I was just so excited to meet somebody else in enablement, and then you left me. I was like, wait, I had more.
Yeah. So won't happen again if I see you at Forrester this year. So I'm curious. I tried to do some internet stalking. I want to try and ask some personal questions and not just work-related questions. But you're a hard person to track down on the internet. I'm not sure if it's you, but are you a nationally ranked CrossFit athlete?
I'm not nationally ranked, but I do CrossFit, yes.
Because there is a Terri Barefoot on the National CrossFit Ranking website, and there's a picture, and it looks like you.
So I think what that's from, so there's a national competition that you sign up online for CrossFit. So I guess technically, yes, but I'm probably ranked like 350,000 or something.
You have to look yourself up. I think you're like 5,000 and change. It was good. I was like, wow, she's like a nationally ranked athlete. So what about when you're not doing sales enablement and you're not doing CrossFit? Who are you? Give the audience just a brief overview of yourself.
Yeah, just a quick about me. So I grew up actually in Cleveland, Ohio. Lived there until I graduated college, and then I moved to Raleigh, North Carolina. That's where I'm at now. I've been here for almost 11 years. I'm married. I have a 3-year-old, and I have one on the way.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So all I know about Cleveland, did you watch the Drew Carey show growing up?
Oh, yes. Cleveland rocks. Yep.
Was that like super popular in your town? Everyone had to watch it?
Yes.
I love it. And they made like that coffee that tasted like beer and had caffeine in it. Now, thinking of that as an adult, why has that not been invented yet?
Yes, I know. Yes, that whole theme song, not Phoebe, what was her name? I don't know. I can't think of it. The lady that wore all the makeup.
So much makeup, right?
Yep.
What a crazy show, the Drew Carey show. Now he hosts What the Price is Right.
Yeah.
So tell us about enablement, right? So you started off in Cleveland, moved to the East Coast, personal life. How do you end up in enablement in the first place?
Yeah, so when I moved to Raleigh, I had a friend that worked in health IT, and she got me a job into health IT. My first job was not in sales enablement. It was in more sales support. So I was essentially like on the deal desk. So after a contract was signed, my team would go in and audit it, make sure everything was good, make sure, client signed in the right place. What that made me realize is that I really enjoyed working with sales, but I didn't enjoy working with them in that aspect. It was very transactional, and every time I reached out to sales, it was because I did something wrong. So I kind of looked at the company and I was like, okay, I want to be on the sales side, but I don't want to be in sales. I knew that wasn't right for me. So I learned about training. There was a sales enablement department at the health IT company I worked at the time, and I applied for a job. Actually didn't get it the first time. I applied for it, went for it again, and got it. And so that's really how I ended up enablement, just them taking a risk on me, really, because I didn't have I was a CrossFit instructor, so I coached CrossFit. And so I really played that up on my resume that I knew how to train sales reps.
See, so the CrossFit thing comes full circle. I'm glad that I found that out. And so there seems to be this division amongst enablement people, at least the ones I talk to, the people that do come from a sales background and the people that don't come from a sales background. Not having that sales background, do you think that hurts you? Do you think it helps you because you have different perspectives?
No, that's a good question. I I think it would have been nice to have that sales background so I could be like, I know what it's like to sit in their seat because I don't have that. I didn't have that at the time. So I think that was a part of learning enablement that maybe took a little bit more time than somebody who came from sales. So I do think it would be a benefit from being in sales first, but it really just maybe just had a little bit more of a learning curve for me. But I do think it would be beneficial to move from a sales role to enablement.
I think it's interesting. And I'm in the opposite boat. I came from sales to enablement, and I'm more jealous of the people who have like that instructional design background, or I've met a bunch of teachers who got into it, or like CrossFit instructors have that high energy kind of motivation and instruction background. The grass is always greener on the other side, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point here because my background in wasn't in training. Like my degree is in just like business administration. I don't have sales, but what I do have is I feel like I can motivate a group of people and I can bring that positivity forward. And I believe that's why I have been successful in enablement because of that being able to motivate people skill more than, knowing how to like create an instructional course.
So it's such a big part of it.
Yeah.
So talking about your success in enablement, the purpose of this podcast is really to help people who are transitioning and trying to find a new role. So before Greenway, you were at Domo, and that's where we had originally met. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about what you did at Domo and how that's the same or different than what you're doing at Greenway.
Yeah, so when I was at Domo, we were very role specific. We were at Domo, I supported a larger sales group than I do now, and the enablement team was larger. So my specific role was enabling onboarding, continuing ed for our ADMs, BDRs, those account development people. So taking them through onboarding and then beyond. So a big part of my role was that, and then just general onboarding. And then I owned all of our tech stack. So that's kind of where that relationship with Bigtincan and Branchart got so close, is that I was the admin for all of our tech stack for enablement. So generally that's what I did. What I do now is so drastically different, in a good way, but that's kind of why I took a role, is because this role is because I wanted a new challenge. So this new challenge that I'm at now is I am a team of one, and they didn't really have a really fleshed out enablement program before I came. So really what I was brought on board to do was create an enablement program, and which includes onboarding, continuing ed, things like that, communication. So definitely a step in the different direction from what I was doing at Domo, but it's been a really fun challenge.
So at Domo, it was kind of closer related to what you were doing on the sales ops side, where you were managing the tools. Was that similar?
Yeah, similar, where it's less strategy, more, this is like more laid out, more what's the right word, more it's just less strategy. I don't know a better way of saying that. And now I've kind of moved to a role that's a lot more strategy driven, and how can I train the sales reps to bring in more money for the company. It's more of a role where I feel like I have a direct impact on sales.
And I think that's really important for people that are watching this and looking for their new role. If previously you were doing these 5 things and you're looking at the job requirement for the new role that you're interested in, a company you're interested in, you might not check all those boxes, right? You might not have been in a strategic role, but this doesn't mean you can't do it. And I want to talk a little bit more about kind of what you're doing now in a little bit. Yeah. Before we get to that, I want to talk about how you found the new role. So you were at Domo, now you're at Greenway, and it's really the same department, but a different position. How did you find this new role?
So the role found me. I was, when I left my first sales enablement role, I made a very strong mentor. She really trained me with everything I knew for enablement. And when I left Domo, we stayed in contact, and she was still my mentor. kind of like my enablement fairy godmother. And we just always kept in contact. I always kind of kept that open line of communication. I left that company on very good terms. And so she left and went to Greenway. And so when she was at Greenway, she's now in charge of marketing, and they decided to add an enablement department or program and asked me to come on board and run that. So it's really creating that really good working relationship in the beginning and then continuing it on is how I landed this role.
Yeah, we're always telling salespeople to use their networks to sell more. There's no reason we can't be using our networks as enablement people to find new roles or find new opportunities and just expand that network.
Absolutely.
And that's how we met. So it's working out so far.
Yeah, and I will say from going from my first enablement job to Domo was really a connection I made through as a sales enablement vendor. I was very close with a couple of the different vendors or partners that we had in the enablement team. And I expressed to one of them, I'm looking for more. And then when Domo was looking for somebody, they said, hey, I've got somebody who may be interested. And they gave my name to them. So that was another one, both jobs that I've got in enablement was from people reaching out to me, which I'm very fortunate for. But I think that just proves that building a strong relationship with everyone you talk to, whether it be, the vendor, your manager, other people in the company, it's just so important. Okay.
And so since this role kind of found you, you weren't, obviously weren't sending out resumes to a bunch of different companies. Do you have any tips or tricks or anything you would want to share with the watchers or the viewers, excuse me, just on resume tips?
So especially enablement, I think what you're looking for is what employers are looking for, to have noticed, is having those tools, going in there and saying, I've experienced on this tool, and this tool. You'll notice it in all of the job postings, like, would like you to be proficient in this tool and this tool. So what I did on my resume was listed the tools, but then also listed what I do proficient at them, like why I'm good at them. And then I think in my mind is why I did that is because it's like, when you read that resume, you're not just saying, I know Excel, you're saying, I know Excel and this is why I know it. You're kind of like proving yourself on your resume that, like, yes, I know this product and these are all the things I've done successfully in the product. So that's one thing very specific to enablement I think it's important to do, is list out every single tool you have experience with and how you have experience with them. I think that will take you a long way.
And so when you talk about how you have experience with them, did you just list out like how long you've been using it? Did you list like online certifications through these different vendors? How did that work?
Yep, that's great. That's a good question. So yes, how long have I been using it? What my role was? Because like all of these tools, I was the admin. So when you're an admin, you have to have that next level experience. You're not just an end user of it. So I added that, and then any certification, whether it be like a training course completion that I took, or just I guess speaking engagement. Like I had a speaking engagement for Bigtincan. Definitely put that on my resume, because not only do I know the product, but you trusted me to talk about it. Right. So definitely all of those will need to be on the resume. Okay.
And then on the certification side, like I've done a few, I think like not Salesforce, LinkedIn offers a few free certification courses you can take. Salesforce is free as well. Were there any specifically that you did that you thought were really helpful?
Anyone on the enablement tools that you're going to be using. I would even too, if you see, let's say you're applying for a job at company ABC and they use Bigtincan and you've never used it before, I would go to their website, and a lot of times, I don't know if this is for sure, but a lot of times there's at least training courses you can take for free. So I would do that. I would at least get familiar with the product. So
that's a really good idea. So if you see a job description you like and it says we require familiarization with tool number one, and you're like, oh, I've never used tool number one before, go to their website, see if they have any free training or certifications, and then put that on the resume.
Yep. Yeah.
And then
And
just make sure you
I
actually
mean,
take it before you get the interview.
yeah, make sure you do it. You actually do it. But yeah, I think that just kind of sets you, right now with the job market, you want to do whatever you can to set yourself apart. And I do think that will set you apart from
Yeah, and I do want to take a sec here to also plug the Seek, Search, Succeed page on our website. If you just Google search, Seek, Succeed, you'll find our job guide. And on there is a bunch of resume writing tips, templates, and just a ton of free resources. At Bigtincan, we're also offering resume reviews with our HR team. So if you are working on a resume and want to send that over, we'd love to look at it with you and help you try and find that next role.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
Really nice.
talk to us about the interview process. I'm assuming you went through some kind of interviews. Were there questions that stumped you? What was the process like? If someone's about to start interviewing for new roles, what can they expect?
Yeah, the interview process was interesting because, in my mind, I was like, oh, they reached out to me, it won't be hard. And I was wrong. Like they put me through the ringer in a good way because they made me really think about what this role is going to mean to me. So I interviewed with the hiring manager. That was, normal, just a one-on-one. And then I met with the next manager up, again, just the typical 30 minutes interview. And then they said, since you'll be creating an enablement program, I want you to present what that means to you. So I had to, without knowing any, I knew all the information I could get from the internet about this company and, kind of working in a similar field before. So I put together what I would do hypothetically for an enablement program for this company. And I was not expecting it, and I presented it to the entire marketing leadership because this role is in the marketing department, not the sales. But yeah, so I presented it to the entire marketing program or marketing leadership team. They socialized it up to like sales leadership to get it reviewed. So that was interesting. I mean, it was definitely nerve-wracking because I just never done anything like that. Like we were just talking before this, like, I don't get nervous very often anymore. And I was nervous.
Yeah, did you present it live or how did they share it? Like, did they make you record it? How did that work?
So we recorded it. Yeah. I think they just socialized my deck out though, when they socialized like the plan. So I had to send it to them. But yeah, it was like just a live or like a virtual thing. But it was it was nerve-wracking, and I wasn't expecting it, but it made sense because it was a very strategic role. So I think they wanted me to prove that I had a strategic way of thinking.
Yeah, I was reading a book recently and it talked about more interviewing for salespeople about challenge assignments and then situational interview questions. And the challenge assignments seem to be so popular now where they want you to present a 30, 60, 90 plan, or they want you to train them for 10 minutes on any subject that you want, or create some kind of deck. And it's make you nervous for sure.
Oh yeah, that's what I presented essentially was what my charter might be, and then my 30, 60, 90 plan. Which is, it's now knowing what I know, it's interesting to look back on what I thought I would do, which, kind of compared to what I am doing, and they're very similar, but it was a really good exercise for kind of thinking outside of the box and thinking about, before you even have the job, what you would be doing in it. So it was cool, but it was a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, so let's talk about those initiatives. I'm curious, what were the things that you thought you were going to do in that kind of initial challenge assignment? And what are the things you're actually working on? How many of those came through, or is there new projects?
Yeah, the big one of the big things that I was able to actually bring from Domo as well is this creating an onboarding program. There was an onboarding program, but it just needed leveled up. It needed more enablement kind of strategy to it. So that was one thing that I knew in the interview process that I would be doing, and I am. So kind of looking at all of the material and assessing, doing gap analysis. What do I need to update? What do I need brand new? So that was on the plan that I knew I was going to have to do, and I was ready for it. And we're in the process of implementing those changes now. I can't think of anything that I'm not doing that I thought I would be doing. I will say my 30, 60, 90 plan turned into like my 2 week, 4 week, 5 week plan. I gave myself 90 days. I haven't even been here 90 days, and I'm already well deep into everything that I thought I was going to do in 90 days. So that's probably the biggest difference, is that it's way fast paced. This industry is fast paced, health IT. So, when there's a new regulatory update, you can't sit on it. You have to get it out to the clients. And then I have to educate the sales reps on how to talk to the clients. So things like that, you just got to move. And that's something that I kind of forgot in this industry. And so that was kind of like the biggest change, is just like, oh my gosh, there's no waiting. Like, you have to get the message out. So that's been interesting, but it's pushed me, to get better training out to sales faster. So it's been a good challenge.
And is there anything you're working on now that wasn't part of the original scope, that now that you're kind of in the role, it's just become part of the projects?
So I will say one, this is not exactly that, but the way that I report, my reporting structure is I report to a product, the product marketing manager as well. So one thing that's been different but very welcome is that I am so connected to product marketing. And it's really refreshing. It's awesome. So that's one thing it is different, but it's great. So like when we create our strategy, instead of creating an enablement strategy, it's like the full circle. We're creating our campaigns, our training, our onboard, like everything is fitting together very nicely. And that's been a really welcome change from, because I didn't know, I didn't know. So I didn't really have anything around like how I'm going to train campaigns, because I didn't know what the campaigns were. So my first thing I did was train sales reps on the next campaign. Which was awesome. It's been great. So yeah, that's probably the biggest thing, is that the ability to kind of interweave the enablement and the product marketing kind of story together has been really refreshing.
You see the structure of sales enablement roles different everywhere. Some report through marketing, you're through product marketing. I report through sales. I've seen roles listed where they report through RevOps. It's crazy how there's not like a set reporting structure for our kind of roles.
Yes, it's that when I first started enablement, we reported to sales, and then we switched to marketing. And then when I was at Domo, we reported to sales, and now I'm reporting to marketing again. And it is, I see pluses and minuses for both, but at this company and how we currently are aligned, it's like the perfect fit in marketing.
And what you said about the product, like regulatory changes dictate the product training and what you can say and what the reps need to know. So it makes a lot of sense that you're aligned to the department that knows that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's the communication, because it's different. Like when you support, certain type of software, there aren't lots of changes. Maybe when you decide to make like an upgrade or a hardware change or whatever it is, but with health IT, it's different, where sometimes the government or, the regulatory, they dictate our changes. And when they do, it's got to be fast. So yeah, it makes sense, because the communication is so important that we're sending out to clients, that we have to be aligned to what we're doing with sales. And that's really why they brought in that enablement role, is because it was kind of a piece that was missing. And sales just weren't as educated on that stuff as they should be. So I'm kind of like the missing piece of product, marketing, and sales. That's kind of I put myself right in the middle of all of that.
Yeah. So you said missing piece, and I was thinking about when I talk to a lot of enablement people, the missing piece at some point seems to be the metrics. Like, how are they measuring their success in enablement? And I think that's such a key part of being able to show the value you provide to your current organization. Or if you're looking for that next role, to explain to them the value you can provide to them and what you were providing to your previous role. What are you tracking, thinking about that the new hire program? Is there any short or long-term metrics you're tracking, and how do you track them?
Yeah, I would say we don't have anything in place currently, anything really strong, but what we want to track is, the time to first deal. That's always important. being able to kind of be on their own as quick as possible, because we do onboarding, with me, with the subject matter experts, and then you kind of are on your own with shadowing. And then when you're ready for that, then you go to the next level. So just getting them kind of through the process faster to be able to bring in, money for the company faster. That's definitely something that I look at. With the specific campaign that we launched when I first started, I created a survey that was just, and the survey was around a lot of different things within this product. But one thing that we included was, how comfortable are you talking about this product? Do you feel like you have the training that you need? What training would you need? And so what I cannot wait to do is, once we're done with this training campaign and the full campaign for this product, is to resurvey everybody and say, now that you've received this training, how comfortable do you feel talking about it? Do you feel like you need more training? So that's one thing we did. That's very isolated, but it's going to be
that falls into like almost like a mini NPS kind of thing, like surveying around, satisfaction of the sales team.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
And have you guys thought at all about, like, are you tracking retention of new hires? Or you talked about time to first deal. Do you look at like average deal value? What other things are you guys tracking?
Yeah, right now the tracking isn't, well, we don't have a lot of new hires right now. Right now we're looking for people. So if you have a sales rep that's looking for a role in health IT, send them our way. So we're not there yet. I'll be honest. We're right now just getting the program together while we're building the program, looking at what to judge. But yeah, time to first deal, deal size, what they sold, is important. Things like that. Yeah.
Another thing you can do if people are watching this and thinking, how do I figure out kind of the return on investment of what I did in my previous role? There's some really good ebooks put out by all the big sales enablement vendors on how to calculate ROI of your old sales enablement program. There's so many things around time to first deal, retention rates, content utilization if you're kind of in the marketing realm. There's so many levers that you can pull in content management, in training, in enablement. So it's really good stuff to look up and add to that resume as well.
I think something that's really beneficial for enablement, it's really hard to quantify, but I think if you can prove that you helped your team go from being completely reactive to proactive, is huge. Like, when I first started enablement, it was just like, you almost just waited for the ball to drop, and then it was, a fire, you did the training. If you can find a way to be proactive about your activities that you're doing or the training that you have, that is huge. So maybe you could look at, less ad hoc requests, was able to stay within the charter and the vision 90% of the year, something like that. I think that would be, it's really hard
I hadn't thought about that, but I'm thinking about my first day in sales enablement. I came out of a sales role and I met with the guy who was in charge of sales enablement at Bigtincan at the time. And I said, what do we do? Like, what's the role supposed to be? And he said, well, half the time we're working on strategic initiatives, another half we're putting out fires. And I said to him, I was like, there's no way that half the time we're putting out fires. And I was right. It's not half the time. It's like 3/4 of the time or something more.
Yeah. But if you're able to, help support or even be a part of the change from being proactive or reactive to proactive, like that, it says a lot. And I think it kind of proves yourself as enablement, because it's like the sales reps, or the sales managers, sales reps, they come to you and they say, we need training around this. And you're like, oh yeah, we're ready to launch that on Monday, or, we're already in the works. That's on our roadmap. I think that kind of just gives you, as a program, just some credibility.
Yeah. Another thing we did, we went to our executive team, to our sales management team, and the different stakeholders at the beginning of the year, and just ask them, hey, what are the things you're looking at this year that are most important for you to get from our team? And we got some metrics back that we weren't expecting. Things like the marketing team's looking at content utilization and how much time people are spending searching for content. And that's kind of our bread and butter at Bigtincan, right? We're like, how are we going to make it any better than it is? That's our thing.
Yeah.
So it was really hard to squeeze like more juice out of that orange.
Yeah.
But we had to find a way to do it because that was important to the marketing team. And I'm sure
Yeah.
stuff like that's important to a lot of marketing teams.
Yeah.
So anything else on top of your mind? What else do you want to share with kind of the community, as a lot of us have been impacted by either layoffs or restructuring, or I don't know all the different terms they're calling it, but it's been impacting a lot of people in our industry. Any tips, anything you want to share at all?
I think one thing that's helped me be successful, and I mentioned this before, but just really building those great relationships, whether you talk to somebody once, weekly, in enablement, we have a really unique position where we reach a lot of different departments internally and externally. You talk to, you do, I'm sure most of us get reached out by other different vendors trying to sell us stuff a lot, engage with them. When I was at Domo, I was in charge of the enablement for our BDRs, ADMs, so when a BDR or ADM called me from another company, as much as I could, I tried to answer, because not only did it let that person practice, but it let me get the feedback I needed to take to our ADM and BDR team. And that's just like gold. So little things like that, take the extra step in whatever you do to build relationships, be present, be mindful, be accountable, and, all those typical things. But, when I was at my first job with enablement, I got really close with my implementation consultant at Brainshark. And just through a great relationship, when I was at Domo, we were really reevaluating our tech stack. And I was able to already have that connection. I already had the connection to the sales rep, the implementation specialist, and not that we got any special treatment, but it just made the entire process go so much better. And with that smooth transition, it made the enablement team look amazing. It gave us an opportunity to speak at a Forrester event. And I feel like that all rooted from being open and building that connection with our implementation consultant when we implemented, when I implemented the software back in like 2015. So it sounds silly, but it was like when we were evaluating, vendors, I was like, I'll only sign if Danny's my implementation consultant, as a joke, of course. But it's just having that strong relationship just was able to kind of just help, I don't know, made me look good, because I was able to get to a place at Brainshark very quickly with our platform that made the company look good, made our decision with, the vendor that looked good. And it just continues, it snowballs.
Yeah, having those relationships is so important. And sales enablement touches every industry, but it's such a small industry itself that it never fails. Yeah. You see people again, people change roles. Yeah. It's just somewhere still connected. And I also really liked what you said about taking calls from BDRs and SDRs. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite pastimes, if you're an SDR who's watching this right now to get information about me, to call me later this week, my favorite thing to do is to put SDR calls on a speakerphone in the office and let all the other SDRs listen to what other companies are doing. Because there's so many, the really good people that are really good at it, there's so many tips you can take from them. And the people that are just going through the motions, you can hear it in their voice. Mm-hmm. And it's important for them to hear, hey, on the days where I'm not feeling good, or I've been shot down a lot, that's what I sound like, somebody on the phone. I need to do something to get myself pumped back up. So yeah, I love a good cold email. I love a good cold SDR call. That's one of my favorite pastimes. Yeah.
And you learn a lot, and you can take that to the team or whoever. It's good learning for everybody. And it gives, I feel like there's some kind of karma there, because you're letting them practice, although you probably know when you answer, you're not going to purchase it, but you let them practice, which is what you're trying to get your sales reps to have, is practice and being able to talk on the phone and stuff. So I like to think it comes full circle eventually.
Yeah. So we're right at the 30-minute mark. I want to make sure we stay on time, but before we end, how can people find you if they want to connect?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Terri Barefoot. I think I'm the only one on LinkedIn, potentially. Yeah, I work for Greenway Health. So yeah, if you want to connect, I'm happy to talk, and if you want to set up any time with me just to chit chat or learn more, just send me a message. I'm happy to do that.
Awesome. Well, if you're watching this and you're looking for a new role or need tips, tricks, help, connections, check out the Seek, Search, Succeed guide. You can find it on the Bigtincan website or just by Googling Seek, Search, Succeed. I'll also link it in the comments below. And big thank you to Terri for being our first guest. It was awesome having you.
Thank you. I had fun.
Awesome. Thanks, Terri.